So I learned something last night that I really hadn't heard anything about, but I wanted to bring up just to make sure everybody's aware of it because it's very odd to me. So a friend of mine mentioned that somebody that they know went one of their friends went to buy a gallon of milk. I can't remember where he said it's over in Peachtree City, and when he went to pay, he paid. I think it was like 350 or 315 or something like that, and the Walmart or wherever he was said that he was going to have to pay $4. In fact, they charged him $4 and didn't give him any change back because he paid in cash. And when they didn't give him change back, he asked, what was going on, and they told him that they had rounded the bill up because there was no change. So if you're going to pay in cash, you pay more than what you actually are supposed to pay. So I started researching this last night, and it's very odd. The article that I read, and I read three or four of them, but they're all saying that there's a shortage of change. None of them really, well, one of them defined what was going on, but the rest of them just said there's a shortage of change due to the coronavirus, and that was all they said. And so banks don't have change, the stores don't have change, and therefore, and it's because of the coronavirus. So I started researching a little bit more because that was a very odd, to me, it was a very odd thing to say. And hopefully, maybe somebody can explain this to me because I'm baffled. So the other article that I read said that the reason for the shortage is because during the coronavirus, the Fed had to lay off, or they didn't lay off, but they had to go to a split force where they were only printing, the mint was only printing coins at half the rate that they normally print them. And it got me to thinking, I was like, well, no, wait a minute. So our economy has money. There's cash that's out in the economy already. And they're claiming that they print billions of coins a day, or it was some asinine number of coins that they print to keep into the market. But what I'm confused about is that during the coronavirus, I mean, there's a couple things I'm confused about, but during the coronavirus, people weren't out buying anything. So they were going to the grocery store and those kind of places. Most of them were using their debit card because the banks were closed. So they couldn't have been using cash to pay for a whole lot of stuff. I mean, there were some people, like I'd pay cash for everything, but I just can't see where the change went during the coronavirus because whatever was already in the market was still there. So the banks, unless they turn over all of their coins to the Fed every single day, I don't understand why the banks ran out of coins. And then on top of it, you've got the Fed claiming that they print all these coins, or that they've bumped up their inventory now so that they can start to fill the gap. But when I get change back from a restaurant, they're not brand new coins. So the thought that the banks are turning all the old coins in and they're all getting new coins, and that there was a shortage because the Fed couldn't give them new coins, I'm kind of baffled. So what exactly is the point? Now the reason I bring this up, maybe this is a conspiracy theory. I don't know. I don't think so. But the reason I bring this up is I want to make sure that everybody's aware of something that the Democrats are trying. Really, I'm just going to say the politicians, because I don't. The Republicans, while they are better than the Democrats, I don't really think that they're that much better. I think they're all crooks. But the funny thing is that they've been trying to push for a cashless society for years, and they're really on this fence now. And one of the reasons that everybody's like, oh, that's going to suck because they're going to track everything that I'm buying, and that is true. They will. So don't kid yourself. I mean, we still have the Patriot Act in 2020, which is the most unconstitutional, illegal thing ever given to us, and as far as I know, Trump signed it again. So but stick with me here. So the reason that they want this is because, as an example, right now, in order for them to keep this scam of a system called the Fed, the Federal Reserve, in order for them to keep that thing going, because it's bankrupting itself, they need to be able to go to negative interest rates, which means that when you put your money in the bank, they're going to take the interest rate. Instead of you getting money on your savings account, they're going to be taking money out of your savings account. Well, what would you do if I told you that, hey, we're kind of in a money crunch right now, so I'm going to take 5% of the money that you have in savings. I'm going to start taking that every month to help the government. Well, what's going to happen is everybody's going to go to the bank and say, the hell with this, I'm taking my money, I'll put it in my mattress until y'all stop this stupid shit, and then I'll maybe put it back in the bank. Well, and that is exactly what would and does happen if they ever go negative on the interest rate. Well, the problem is that what they've decided is, well, if we can go to a completely cashless society where there is no cash, everything's online, you have a debit card to get to all of your money, well, then we could actually take that money away from these people and they couldn't do anything about it. Like, how are they going to get their money out to store it in what? They'd have to buy a car or buy a house or do something else with it. They would not be able to keep it in the bank or to take it out of the bank, because we control it all. We have everything in-house and we've got control over it all. So we can actually take whatever we want to out of it. And that's exactly what they're doing. And no matter what they tell you on the news and no matter what the politicians tell you, they're all liars. That is exactly what they want to do. And we should all fight this with every bit of our being, because when we go to a cashless society, we as a society have lost every freedom we ever had. We're done. So you need to, and one of the things that I'm going to be doing is we're getting links and stuff to sites where you can go in, put your zip code in, and find out who your representatives are, because every one of them ought to get flooded with emails and telephone calls telling them that if you support this, you're out of office and you will never get back in office. So that's one subject that I wanted to cover, because it's actually quite disturbing that they're doing this. And again, the Fed is claiming that that's not what they're doing, that there was a shortage because of coronavirus, but that just doesn't add up mathematically in my head. I mean, maybe somebody can explain to me why you would have such a shortage of coins, but I just don't understand it. So the next thing I want to talk about is I've had a few people on the last video that I posted and the first one commenting about BLM and how I'm being unfair to them because they're just a movement. They're not actually a organization. And it never ceases to amaze me how stupid most people are. The problem with even thinking something like that is, if you go look, I mean, you can go look and see how much money has been donated to BLM, the organization. Black Lives Matters, if you want to just say Black Lives Matter, okay, who are you going to get to disagree? Of course, all lives matter. White lives matter, Asian lives matter, everybody matters. Why would you want to kill somebody? So coming out and they were brilliant. I'll give credit where credit's due. They were brilliant naming their organization Black Lives Matters. Where they were kind of ignorant is that they have been given millions and millions of dollars. In fact, I'm going to be researching exactly what they have received. I've heard it's upwards of $400 million that have been donated to that organization, not a movement. And they've done nothing to help the black community, like literally nothing to help. In fact, they've gone out of their way to hurt the black community. They are the ones that are organizing and doing all these riots, and them and the Antifa group. Neither one of them care anything about the blacks, and it amazes me that in fact, it amazes me that two black women and a black man are running BLM, because you would think that they would actually care about the black community and they would do something about it. It blows my mind. And, and it also, it pisses me off, because I sit here and I think about the Amazon, the owner of Amazon. I can't remember, Bezos. I sit here and I think about, well, no, you're willing to give up $25 million to give to BLM because Black Lives Matters. But my little podunk self is sitting here trying to figure out how to build some learning centers and do some things to actually help the black people. Because I do think that there's a huge problem with the entire, well, not the entire, but with most of what has been done to the blacks. It is just barely short of slavery, and the Democrats are the ones that have done this to the blacks, and they've brainwashed them all to the point that the blacks actually think the Democrats care about them. But if they ever sat down and said, well, 30 years ago, I was in this position, and the Democrats have been in power quite a bit. In fact, they had a black president for 8 years, and now I'm in the same position I was in. In fact, I'm worse off now than I was 20 years ago. You would think that they'd wake up and say, well, wait a minute, y'all been telling me that y'all were going to fix education forever. You've been telling me that you were going to help the black community forever, and you've done nothing. Right up before the election, the blacks are the most important thing going. We've got to help them. We got to fix this. We got to give them more money. We got to do this. But then as soon as they get elected, they don't do a damn thing to help the blacks. They don't do anything for them. So Jeff Bezos and every single crony just like him, they all sit up here and act like they're social justice warriors. They're all trying to help the minorities. They're trying to help the people that don't have a way up. And it's all bullshit. Somebody asked me the other day, is like, well, why would Jeff Bezos go and support BLM without doing a little bit of research? And I really can't answer the question. I really don't know what to think anymore. I don't know. Are these people they're making a bunch of money because they're smart at business and they're really idiots? I mean, are they really that stupid? Or is there some other thing going on that we just don't understand? I mean, I don't know. This whole thing with Trump and it just it blows my mind, because I sit here and I think about Trump. I did not like Trump when he got elected. I mean, when it came down between him and Hillary Clinton, absolutely I would have taken Trump 1 million times over Hillary Clinton. But I never really liked Trump as a person, because he always seemed, more interested in himself than anything else. But through the last 4 years of watching him and looking at what he's doing, he really does. I do genuinely believe, and I may be proven wrong at some point, but I genuinely believe that Trump cares about America. That's all he's trying to do, is fix America. Because if you make America strong, we're strong. If you tear America down, then what do we have? I mean, the government could come in and take everything I own just because I'm making this video in another 6 months. So, we are on a precipice here that is either going to correct itself, or we're all going to be done. So those of you that are sitting back and you've got your retirements and you got your companies and you got your money sitting in the bank and you're comfortable, every bit of that can be taken away from you tomorrow. I mean, look, this is something else that we've got to figure out a solution to. We've got federal judges that, just look at Michael Flynn and Roger Stone. We got federal judges that are breaking the law in order to be political. The Flynn case, I mean, my God, that thing should have been kicked out of court when it first started. But instead, this activist judge keeps this thing going. The DOJ finally gets rid of it, and he still keeps it going. In fact, to my knowledge, he still hasn't totally let go of this case. He's still trying to try somebody that the attorneys have said that they don't have a case. but he's still trying to have a case. I never even realized judges could try their own cases. I mean, I thought the judge was supposed to be impartial and listen to both sides of the argument and make a decision based on that. I had no idea that they were this activist as they are. So for those of you think that, oh, well, if they come take my stuff, I'll just sue them. Well, look at what's going on. I mean, the man and woman up in Seattle or wherever they were that pulled their guns out, they're actually being charged for pulling their guns out. People broke onto their property and were on their private property. They pulled guns out to protect themselves, and they're the ones in court. Not all the thugs that broke through their gate and ran through their yard. None of them are in court. None of them got arrested. We've got videotape with their faces on it, but none of them have been arrested. And if they were arrested, they'd be let back out in a hour. So we've lost control of this country, and we've lost control because of the politicians. We've lost control because of the courts, and we've lost control because we let these left-wing nut jobs take over. And if we don't get together and we don't fix this thing now, Democrats and that's something else I want to be clear about. Democrats and Republicans, if you have money in the bank and you have a business, I don't care what your political affiliations are. If you don't agree with getting rid of the police, and if you don't agree with all of these riots and stuff that are going on, we all need to unite. We can't sit here and watch the country. If we want to have some philosophical arguments back and forth about whether the government should do this or the government should do that, that's fine. Let's get back to that point in time. But right now, we've lost that. We are now both of us are dealing with Marxists. They're not interested in taking care of the poor people. They're not interested in helping the black community. They're not interested in anything but destroying the United States. The judges, any of these activists, and I'm not going to lump the entire Democratic populace. The Democrats, the politicians, they are activists. I don't think you could point me to a single Democrat that is actually a Democrat. They're not Democrats any longer. The concept of a Democrat, which I've always had a hard time understanding, but the concept of a Democrat is gone. You now have Republicans, hopefully Americans, and then you have activists, Marxists, wanting to tear down the country. And Nancy Pelosi and Schumer and all the rest of them that pretend that they are outraged by what President Trump is doing, and they pretend all this stuff. They are activists. They are not Americans. They absolutely want to tear this country down. So if you can look them in the face and think that they give a shit about you, then you need to go look in the mirror and figure out what you've done wrong in your life, because these people do not care. They want to tear this entire country down and build their own country back up. And that's exactly what they're all trying to do. And I can promise you that the country that they build is not going to be the country that you want to live in. So we've all got to unite. We've all got to get together. And I'm not saying we have to agree. We don't have to agree on where we're headed. We can still debate whatever we want to debate. But the leftists aren't debating. They are ordering. They are doing. They are winning. And we're all sitting back going, oh, well, I don't want to get into politics. And I'm going to tell you something else. I went through a period of my life when Trump got elected. I quit watching the news. I totally quit watching the news. I was like, I can't deal with the stress. I can't deal with not being able to fix things. I'm just watching everything fall apart. But I've come to realize that that's not the attitude. Our country is here because we're Americans and because we fight. We don't roll over and let everybody walk over the top of us. We fight. That's why every world war that has been started, we finished, because we don't sit and let other people walk over the top of us. So we've all got to get together. If you're an American, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you still believe America is a great country, we've got to get together and fix this stuff. We cannot let these idiots continue to do what they're doing. So I have got 2 domains. It took a little while, and they're not exactly what I wanted, but they did work out. So we've got 2 domains that we have finally gotten. One is, and they're not up yet. I'm going to start working on getting the sites up today. But one of them is wearewoke.us. So, and the idea behind that is that, you know, all of the people want to go out there and say they're woke. Well, they have woke the silent majority now. So we've all been sitting back and watching all these children run around and act like idiots. Well, now they've woke us. And so it's time that we all get together and close the door on these people and get this country back into an organized state. Because we have done the experiment. We've watched these crazy people try to run the country. And it's time that we say enough and get behind President Trump, because he is literally the only person up in Washington that is for the country. Most all the rest of them, and I won't, you know, Ted Cruz and you know, Nunes and a few others, they're behind us. So, you know, and I always leave him out, but I can't remember his name now. But anyway, I'm bad with names. But the point is we have got to get together, Democrats and Republicans, and solve this problem. And then we can go back to arguing, you know, whether we should do this or that or the other later. But right now, you're losing the country. Wake up and pay attention. Wearewoke.us is going to be the website that we're going to go to. The education side of it is going to be educateus.us. So that website is also something that we'll be bringing up here shortly. So we've got a lot going on, and we're trying to help do this. Hopefully we can get this going. I've only got 3,500 subscribers, so some of you guys are going to have to step up and start posting your own videos. I'm not trying to be the only one doing this. Everybody needs to stand up and do exactly what I'm doing right now. So wake up. Let's get this thing back under control and get our country great again, because right now we are on the precipice of losing everything that we've worked so hard to get.